Oil theft. Senate bows to pressure, fails to indict masterminds. Can you imagine? Alleges Nigerian lost $2 billion in 8 months. At Abuja, the Senate ad hoc committee meant to investigate the siphoning of the country's crude oil and the negative impact of the plague on the economy on Tuesday submitted its findings to plenary. The findings painstakingly detailed that between January and August 2022, Nigeria lost an unwholesome $2 billion. That is 1.3 trillion naira to oil thieves. It said Nigeria lost over $2 billion to oil theft between January and August 2022, with consequent loss of revenue that would support the country's fiscal deficit and budget implementation. The report, which evidently showed that the committee must have bowed to pressure not to name those behind the stealing of the country's black gold asset, claimed that efforts in combating the menace has begun, yielding results, with Forcados terminal producing 500,000 barrels per day now as against zero production in the first 6 months of the year. The upper chamber had on April 14, 2022, constituted a 13-member ad hoc committee on oil lifting, theft, and the impact on petroleum production and oil revenue under the chairmanship of Senator Akpan Bassi, who incidentally is the chairman Senate Committee on Petroleum Upstream. Bonny Terminals, according to the report, is also producing 87,000 barrels of oil per day now as against zero production a couple of months ago due to activities of economic saboteurs. Now, parts of the 16-point recommendations of the committee as adopted by the Senate are that Nigeria National Petroleum Corporation, Nigeria Natural Petroleum Company Limited should stop undermining Nigeria's Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission, NUPRC, and Nigeria Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority from performing their functions. The provisions of the Petroleum Industry Act, should be adhered to by NNPCL as regards functions of the established agencies. That there is need for immediate streamlining of agencies present at the terminals in line with the relevance of their PIA delineated upstream and mainstream downstream statutory functions. That NUPRC should fast-track the upgrade of the National Production Monitoring System to enable real-time monitoring of flow stations and terminal activities. That NUPRC should expedite the deployment and strict enforcement of the Advanced Crude Oil Cargo Declaration Solution for detection and mitigation of illegal movement of vessels to ensure adequate revenue generation and optimal crude oil production. That the Bureau of Public Procurement should expedite all processes of procurement for NUPRC in ensuring immediate deployment of an online real-time monitoring system by the Commission across all upstream oil and gas production platforms for accuracy in measuring production volume by producers. That NUPRC should resume full regulatory oversight of all existing crude oil terminals in Nigeria, including integrated ones, crude oil pipelines, issuance of loading clearance, and processing of export permits in line with Section 8D of the PIA, as regulatory activities at crude oil terminals are independent and contingent. That curtailing crude oil theft should be a collective responsibility through report of illegal activities and transactions to appropriate authorities by well-meaning Nigerians. The report also frowned at undue interference of the Minister of State in the operations of NUPRC, as shown with letters made available to it by the agency, and stressed that both the Minister and NNPCL should allow PIA to function. The report states The PIA, as signed into law by the president, must be allowed to function by all stakeholders in the sector, as any amendment on it now will send wrong signals to the international community. Wow, this is good. This is good. So meaning that the ad hoc committee, the 13-man committee that has been instituted, to investigate the case of oil theft and revenue loss in Nigeria, have finished their job, and now they've come out with a report. Unfortunately, the National Assembly is reluctant in naming people, all right, that have been identified as people perpetrating this oil theft. The National Assembly is reluctant. They don't want to indict the mastermind because they know them, and probably because they are directly or indirectly linked to it as well. Because it is true that most of the tankers lifting crude in Nigeria abroad, a lot of them are not properly accounted for. Apart from the ones that are bringing to us are all those boys in the creek that are doing illegal refining, or all those pipeline vandals that are sucking and then doing all this. The major ones have to do with those tankers. Tankers cannot just enter Nigerian territorial water and the government is saying they didn't see it. Why? How? What about the AIS or AIS that is used to monitor real-time monitoring of vessels in Nigerian territorial water? So it is unfortunate that we have a country where the people at the helm of affairs are part of the corruption, and that is why fighting corruption is difficult. After they will tell us corruption is fighting back. How is corruption fighting back? Does corruption have ammunition? It's of the people that are making the laws, that are meant to also enforce the laws, are the people breaking the laws, and that is why it's difficult to implement. You can imagine the what the committee is saying now. NNPCL, Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, which is now an independent company, a producing company, is no more a regulatory company that had 12 subsidiaries under it, that had even the DPR working under it. It is now an independent public company where individuals can now go and buy shares. It is now like any other producing company in Nigeria, whether local or international. So why will the MD of such company now be interfering with the duty of NUPRC, the Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission? That commission is actually doing the job of regulatory, providing regulatory services now, just like the DPR used to do. DPR was under NNPC, and that was why NNPC got such huge power, all right, as both producing company and a regulatory agency to government. So right now that PIA has been signed, that is Petroleum Industry Act, and now powers have been dissolved and devolved, all right, and now NUPRC is now the regulatory agency that is going to look after the effectiveness and implementation of the PIA. Why is NNPC wrestling power with them, not letting them do their job? Because unfortunately, when they formed that company, most of the key positions, it was published that time, that most of the key positions of that NNPC is now the Northerners. And they keep taking the key positions of everything that comes from the government. All right. Now that it is an individual company, now they should go and operate and make profit and maintain those facilities, because they couldn't before now. They couldn't even maintain the refinery. They couldn't do anything. So the question I kept asking, actually, when people hope that NNPC will do better, it is still the same thing. It's just like old wine in new bottle. All right. The fact is that when they were dipping their hands into government purse, they were doing well, paying salaries, paying pensions, and doing everything. They were still not able to maintain the refineries. Is it now that they are now independent and autonomous, like any other production company, regulated by the PIA as well? They don't have access to government coffers again the way they used to. Is it now they're going to learn to do business and make profit? That is where I doubt that this NNPC or NNPCL will succeed. Because it's not now they're going to learn how to do business and make profit. They are now pursuing other companies that are buying the marginal fee from the IOCs. The fact here is that will they be able to run those marginal fields? NPDC over the years have been the production arm of NNPC. Where is it now as an upstream production company under NNPC as a subsidiary of NNPC. Where is it? So I see a situation where they will just go and buy those marginal fields in the name of NNPC and still lease it out again to those independent companies to operate for them, like operated by others. We call it OBO, to operate for them. And at the end of the day, they will share profit. They will do it like the normal 60-40 that they used to have when NNPC was still the regulatory agency of the country. All right, so they are basically going to be buying the marginal field and then still lease it out and agree on the percentage sharing of the production of the profit as well. All right, so that at the end of the day they will say that the NNPC own that, but they can't run it, and they will obviously not run it. They will still lease it out. They will buy it and then lease it out. And what are they going to do? The same politicians stealing the Nigerian money. All right, the same politicians who are involved in this oil theft that the Senate and the House of Reps are scared of naming. They are the same people that will use the stolen money to buy the marginal field to themselves in the name of NNPC. They will say that these are the shareholders, these are the directors. Where did they get the money to buy this thing? If you x-ray them properly, you find out those monies are monies of individuals who have been in government, who have stolen from government coffers over the period. It's unfortunate. I don't know where Nigeria is going. You sent a committee to go and investigate something. The investigator that came back with a report. Now you are pussyfooting in implementing the recommendation, in naming the people who are masterminding this oil theft so that they can be prosecuted. They don't want to do that. Even the committee is begging them to implement the recommendations that they have made. It's unfortunate. And when I read those recommendations, a lot of them are not new. Those are already systems in place that they also fail to implement, because if they implement them, it will catch them. They will not have room for the stealing. So those recommendations are not new. They just lifted some systems that have been in place and just begging them for full implementation of those systems and processes so that the country can move forward. But again, they will not let it work. They won't. The ad hoc House Committee investigation, all right, on our crude oil theft is useless if names of the culprits are not mentioned. Yes, that is what somebody is saying here. It's useless. Another person is saying paperwork, that is all. You go to the trash bin, all right, you will find the remnants of the report. And that is true. All right, that is true. So to what use is the committee report when the real culprits are not unveiled and punished according to the laws of the land in order to serve as a deterrent to others? It means we are not serious about ending the albatross that has continued to drag us backward, because those who own Nigeria are behind this act. No wonder all vessels arrested are burnt down for fear of traces. So sad. It's true. They just shoot the vessel and it will catch fire. They will say one thing. The crude oil thieves are in APC government. How can the committee reveal their identities when some of them are whining and dining with them? These thieves will die painful death, and all the illegal wealth acquired in their dubious lifetime will be squandered by their children. That is it. Will be wasted by their offspring, God willing. So that is why the recommendations will not work. It's just a paperwork. Okay. After all, we had an issue around the Niger Delta Development Commission, NDDC. It was not about a year ago when somebody was pretending to have fainted in the front of the panel. All right, when they were presenting the report. When Akpabio wanted to mention names, they started begging him, off your mic, off your mic, off your mic. Because Akpabio, as an NDDC director, already saw what was happening and knew the people. And he wanted to disgrace them there. They stopped. They started shouting that they should stop. Off your mic. So this is a country. The country is a joke. Frankly speaking, it's a big joke. It's a big joke. The oil stealing will continue because the people who are stealing the oil are still the people at the helm of affairs, making laws, pretending to make laws and to implement laws. Meanwhile, they are not going anywhere. So thank you for listening, and this is very annoying, and I'm not happy with it.